National Infrastructure Commissioner, Lord Adonis. So, Lord Adonis, good evening to you.
Good evening.
1.7 billion, is that enough?
It's a good down payment. What we need is to get going on seriously improving the quality of metro, bus and other public transport systems which serve our cities, and linking the city centres, which have by and large done quite well, and they're going to do very well in the future out of HS2 and other big spending on big rail projects in particular, linking them to the suburbs and to less prosperous towns in their regions. This is a good down payment. What we now need to see is proper plans brought forward, and we need to see this sum of money increased over time so that we can really invest in getting metro systems in place like the one that London has. London has an astonishingly good metro system, arguably the best in the world, linking its really highly important city centre, where all the jobs are, to the places where people live. And we now need to see those sorts of transport systems put in place in all of the other major cities of the country.
I mean, you published your wish list last week of projects that you'd like to see. I mean, you want to see this crescent between Northampton and Oxford, essentially, don't you?
Oxford, Milton, Keynes, Cambridge. Northampton will share in that too. But these are three of the fastest growing and most important cities in the country. Hugely important jobs in terms of the value of the jobs. Two astonishingly great universities, Oxford and Cambridge, world-leading universities, but also Milton Keynes, one of the fastest-growing cities in the country, now with an economy the size of Liverpool's. And what we need is a lot more housing in this area, particularly lower-cost housing, because the big problem at the moment is that there are loads of jobs, not enough places for people to live, and we need good transport systems in place to make that possible.
A lot of viewers in the north of England will say, hang on, these are all places in the south and south-east of England again. What about the north?
The Crossrail of the North scheme, which will link Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, Hull, that is just as important as the Crossrail scheme in London, and that needs to be part of these plans for the future. And we've said that loud and clear. What we need is HS2 is going to be developed over the next 15 years. That is a 60 billion investment in transforming the connections between the three largest conurbations of the country, London, the West Midlands and the North West. It'll also serve West Yorkshire as well. Now what we need to do is to join up those northern conurbations as well, and if we can do that, then we'll have a really first-rate transport system for the 21st century.
And of course, one of the big projects that you've been pressing for a number of years, the third runway at Heathrow, it still feels like it's a long way from ever happening, doesn't it?
It's 20 years we've spent debating whether this should happen. It now does need to happen. You know, today it was announced, a heart-rending decision, that the European Medicines Agency, which has been here in London, is going to Amsterdam. Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam has 6 runways. Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris has 4 runways. When I was Transport Secretary, I went to the opening of the 4th runway in Frankfurt. London Heathrow, hugely important to the economy of Britain, our only hub airport, has 2 runways. We have got to get real as a country, particularly if we're going to be going down the Brexit route. You cannot trade with the wider world if you can't get to it. If Heathrow Airport has a big sign-up outside saying, full, no more business, this will do huge damage to us as a country, and we now need to take the decision, which is basically just log-jammed in Parliament at the moment. Parliament needs to decide to do this third runway, and then we need to build it.
Well, we have you very, very briefly. You met Michel Barnier last week. What do you think of the way he's ratcheting up the rhetoric right now?
Well, in the national interest, let's hope that David Davis and Michel Barnier can strike a deal. But do you know, as this national tragedy rolls on, I think the best thing to do by far is simply to stop it and to say to the people, you were sold a pup a year ago in the referendum. You cannot have greater prosperity outside the European Union. Let's call a halt to this and ask the people for their view as to whether we're actually better staying in after all. And then maybe we'll get the Medicines Agency back again. They haven't actually moved it to Amsterdam yet. As people realise what's happening, there is a last chance for us to stop this national lunacy.